I don't know where the derivation is, the world is your oyster, but having farmed oysters now for almost 10 years, I can say that you have a greater appreciation for the world. Hi, I'm Mike Losinski. I'm an oyster farmer. We're at the Widow's Hole Oyster Farm. Behind me is Greenport Harbor, where we grow out oysters to maturity in cages. That's called off-bottom culture. And then in the direction I'm looking is a little creek called Widow's Hole, where we grow our seed out. No, I never had an idea in my life that I would ever be doing this. It's a total surprise. But you know, I found myself at the age of 44. I was retired from a software firm and a software business I'd been pretty successful at. And I had read that this was the oyster capital of New York, although no one was growing oysters at the time. And I had nothing to do, and I thought, well, I'll get a permit and grow oysters, because I discovered that I own 500 feet from shore. I own 4 acres over here in the bay. So I said, I'll get a permit and grow oysters. So we started growing them, and I would take them to chefs in the city, and it was not uncommon for chefs to say, this is the best oyster I've ever eaten in my life. And so now I am a serf to my animals out there. I've been enslaved by my idea of a family farm. September 1st is the beginning of oyster season. It used to be such a big event in Manhattan in the 30s and the 40s. It was a headline event in the New York Times. It's just fallen out of the diet. The oyster has disappeared. The former staple of the New York diet has disappeared.
Good for you.
And it's a very healthy animal too. It's a very healthy, if you look over my shoulder, you can see, you can swim in this water where these animals are being raised. If you were to go to where cows and pigs are slaughtered or force-fed, you wouldn't want to be within 10 miles. The odor would just drive you away. Where here, it's a totally pristine environment. These are extremely healthy things to eat. A big oyster. I'll show you how to open with a French knife as opposed to an American knife. And chefs in America do not learn how to use French knives. It's sharper at the tip. It's also beveled on the sides, and the blade is much thinner. So French go in through the side. You find where the two halves meet, all right? And you go in like this, like an awl. Now I'm in. That's it. That's it. The thing is open. Lever it up, back and forth, and I take this blade. It's sharp on the edge. I'm going to cut the abductor muscle like that. It's cut. Open the oyster. Cut the bottom abductor. It's got a muscle to the top and the bottom, and there you're done. Nice, fat, plump, beautiful oyster. Plenty of fluid, plenty of liqueur. When you open an oyster and it doesn't have any, or a very small amount, it means it's an old oyster. It has been sitting around in somebody's cooler for potentially weeks at a time. And I've seen people, they'll open, I hand them an oyster and they'll dump the fluid out. No, don't do that. But that's what you want, is the water, right? Wow. If you eat the Widow's Hole oyster, you're going to taste the sea. The concept of terroir is even a stronger concept with oysters, I think, than with wine and grapes, because these things are living in the ocean, and this is what you taste. They're encased in the fluid. And the fluid, when you open an oyster, the fluid is called the liqueur of the oyster. You're going to get a dash of salty, briny essence of ocean in your mouth when you eat a Widow's Hole oyster. So there's something about the water in Greenport, something grows a great oyster. We sell about 4,000 to 5,000 oysters every week. We ship some to San Francisco and Las Vegas, Chicago, Des Moines, right? But mostly the bulk of them go into Manhattan. My mission, if I have a bigger goal than trying to sell oysters, I would like to see more young men and women get in their boats and grow oysters. I'd like to see a lot more competition. I encourage everyone to eat more oysters. They're excellent for you. It's very good for the environment for people to grow oysters. And you know, you'll support small local growers in your region. So it's good for your community too. I buy the seed every spring, and you know, a year and a half, 2 years later, we sell the oyster, the mature oyster. Carry them into Manhattan every week. Same day fresh oysters. The only one that you can get in Manhattan, same day fresh. Guaranteed to put Papa on top of Mama.